This video discusses why President Putin should avoid using nuclear weapons. Hello friends, this is Unmasked Truth with Harmanjit Saini, where I provide unique analysis of world events based on the unmasked truth that after surrender, Germany continued World War II clandestinely and became a killing machine. I also provide true news that you will find nowhere else. In my video of October 6, 2022, titled Update on the Ukraine-Russia War and World War III Watch, I mentioned that after assessing that the Russian military is very weak because the war in Ukraine is not going well for Russia, Germany and China have been emboldened to develop plans to attack Russia, to annex enough Russian territory where its oil, natural gas, and other mineral resources are located. I also stated that in all good conscience, my advice to all would be to not start a nuclear war because the consequences will be devastating and the world most likely will not be able to put the genie of nuclear war back in the bottle once released. President Putin has clearly stated that Russia has nuclear weapons that the West does not know about, and he will use them if the integrity of Russian territory is threatened. He has also stated that he is not bluffing. President Biden recently stated that he does not believe that President Putin would use a tactical nuclear weapon on Ukraine. I think President Putin did not mean using nuclear weapons on Ukraine because I doubt if Ukraine can threaten territorial integrity of Russia. I think President Putin was threatening China and Germany. In an interview with CNN, President Biden stated that the whole point I was making was it could lead to just a horrible outcome, and not because anybody intends to turn it into a world war or anything, but just once you use a nuclear weapon, the mistakes that can be made, the miscalculations, who knows what would happen. I have no expertise in military weapons and the mechanism for nations to launch nuclear weapons and how other nations would respond. President Biden's words, just once you use a nuclear weapon, the mistakes that can be made, the miscalculations, who knows what would happen, indicate that once a nuclear weapon is launched, nations responding may not know who the intended target is and would launch their own nuclear weapons against their traditional enemies, who may or may not be the intended targets. We'll have a full blown Third World War with perhaps hundreds of millions, if not a billion people instantly vaporized, others dying slow and painful deaths, followed by changed weather patterns leading to famines and diseases. Without the restraint brought by UN resolutions, regional conflicts would flare up, leading to more bloodshed. Clearly, any sane person's advice to President Putin, President Xi Jinping, Chancellor Olaf Scholz of Germany, and President Biden would be to not even think of using nuclear weapons. Since President Putin is the only one who has made known his intention to use them, if the territorial integrity of Russia is threatened, I appeal to him to avoid using nuclear weapons as an option to fight the war. President Putin should consider the fact that the United States, Russia, and other nations have had nuclear weapons for more than 70 years. Yet we have been able to develop systems and methods of communications to avoid using them since their first and only use against Japan. Please use that experience to prevent the use of nuclear weapons in any conflagration that would spell disaster for the world. What comfort is mutually assured destruction? Also, the Ayatollahs of Iran are considered crazy for a reason. They have a prophecy in their Shia version of Islam that the Mahdi or the guided one or deliverer will return to earth when there is a great conflagration. I have heard that they have been trying to acquire nuclear weapons so that they can start that conflagration, triggering the return of the Mahdi. They believe they will be considered the Mahdi's favorite and leading nation for having taken that action and will be used by him to restore justice to the world, and the entire world will convert to Islam. That's why they are considered crazy. Anyone using nuclear weapons willy nilly will be dubbed a crazy person like the Ayatollahs. That's why I advise President Putin to avoid using nuclear weapons so that it does not acquire the label the Ayatollahs have acquired. Bible prophecy also indicates how nations will avoid using nuclear weapons even in the face of global conflict because of the potential for annihilating all life on earth. That conflict is described in Revelation 9 verses 1 to 18, which state, "And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth. And to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he strikes a man. And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. This indicates that in a future war, biological and chemical weapons are being used by both sides to torment people all around the world. The attack starts from the west, led by Germany, but the east responds with similar weapons. Then, continuing in verse 7, "And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared for battle." Then in verse 10, "And they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt men 5 months. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue has his name Apollyon, which means destroyer, or meaning Satan the devil." Continuing in verse 12, "One woe is past, and behold, there come two woes more hereafter. And the sixth angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar which is before God, saying to the sixth angel which had the trumpet, Loose the four angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. And the four angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour, and a day, and a month, and a year, and to slay the third part of men. And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000, meaning 200 million, and I heard the number of them." Continuing in verse 17, "And thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire and of jacinth and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. By these three was a third part of men killed, by the fire and by the smoke and by the brimstone, which issued out of their mouths." This prophecy indicates that even though both sides possess nuclear weapons, they avoid using them because they know that the result would be utter destruction of both sides and all life on earth. The only option, therefore, for the East to retaliate against the German led West is to mount an overwhelming counterattack with a massive 200 million man army. This war will kill one third of humanity alive at that time. But in their calculation, that is better than annihilating all life on earth by using nuclear weapons. I hope President Putin seriously rethinks his war strategy to use nuclear weapons. The end result will be disastrous for Russia and its adversaries. I hope Germany and China also give up their plans to attack Russia. Again, the end result will not be good for either side. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please continue to watch my videos and read my articles on important world events, World War III watch, politics, international business, advice on health and medical problems, and much more for in-depth and insightful analysis. Please also subscribe to my YouTube and Facebook channels Unmasked Truth with Harmanjit Saini to view and get information on the latest videos. Some people do not have the time to go through the full length of videos. They find it more convenient to read the text of the video. Unfortunately, YouTube does not provide the facility to make the text of my videos available on YouTube. But fortunately, Facebook does provide that facility. So I make the text of my videos available on my Facebook channel, which you can easily copy.